It's been a busy year for Persona. Persona 5 Royal came out in Japan and the US, followed not long afterward by Persona 5 Scramble in Japan, and then the surprise announcement of a PC port for Persona 4 Golden. Now, attention turns to what Atlus and P Studio will be doing next. A localization for Persona 5 Scramble seems likely, but I think the big thing people are looking forward to from the group is the next numbered entry, Persona 6. They have set themselves a tall task coming off of Persona 5, which set new standards for visual style and breadth of content for the series. What then should and will they do to follow up on the most successful entry of the series so far? I'm here to give my hopes and predictions for what Persona 6 will be. The first rumor I'll squash now is whether Persona 6 would be a direct sequel to any other Persona game. The answer is no. That has happened before with Persona 2, Innocent Sin, and Eternal Punishment, but I suspect the Persona formula established by Persona 3 will be respected. Besides, Persona 5 Scramble is pretty much a Persona 5 sequel already, so my prediction is an entirely new cast of characters and location for the new entry. And as usual, I have thoughts on what direction they should go. Starting with location. My hope and prediction are that they will move back to a smaller town for the next game. It would be nice if they could alternate city and town settings to continue the mini pattern seen since Persona 3 came out. Frankly speaking, Tokyo as a setting for Persona 5 will be hard to beat, especially if they tried to do it in another city such as Kyoto or Osaka. Instead of going for the scale of Persona 5's Tokyo, I think it makes more sense to go for depth in a smaller location. Inaba in Persona 4 felt more personal than most other Persona locations because it was a small town with a stronger community than any city could achieve. I think it would make sense to aim for that if Atlus doesn't want everything to be compared, perhaps negatively, to Persona 5. I think it would make sense to aim for that to give the players an experience they couldn't get in the previous game. I have heard some say they could go with the original Persona 5 location plan, which was for them to travel around between cities and towns throughout the game. Since that was done though for Persona 5 Scramble, I think it's unlikely to be used for Persona 6, and in any case the small town is my preference between all the options. I'd be excited to see how the development team could construct a town with all the life and charms of small town living with the resources at their disposal. The detail could be incredible and make for an extremely memorable location. Am I showing my small town bias too much? Nah, it's just objectively the right course of action. As for characters, it begins and ends with the big main character, and I think this is an area that needs expanding. Yes, I'm saying that we need a Persona 6 female MC, either in addition to a male MC or as a standalone protagonist. The inclusion of a female protagonist in Persona 3 Portable was very well received, especially since that small choice did noticeably change up the gameplay, and I think a similar system would be welcomed by Persona fans who have been hoping in vain for a female MC in the last two games. In the same vein of taking inspiration from prior games in the series, expanding romance options to same-sex pairs is another aspect fans have been asking for and I wholeheartedly support. I do think the female main character is more likely than the expanded romance options, but perhaps seeing a game like Fire Emblem Three Houses expand their representation will inspire Persona to look back to Persona 2, which did have a same-sex romance option. Again, I don't think it's very likely, but that doesn't stop people from hoping. At the very least, I think there should be more acknowledgement of the romantic partner you do pick, just to add a little flavor to that part of the game. As for the rest of the party, it's simply too difficult to make any sort of predictions or hopes. There are too many uncertainties around the game that would impact the main party. My bold prediction then is that they will be high schoolers. Bold enough for you? As for the confidant system itself, I liked its construction in Persona 5 and I see little reason to change it. They just have to make sure they're all well written, which they came close to achieving in the past couple of games, but there were still some duds. One change I do think is possible is that we'll see more confidants like Kasumi's in Persona 5 Royal with a much clearer delineation between first half confidant and second half to mark a major character change. Perhaps the most important decision that Atlus will need to make though is with the themes of the game. Persona 5 centered its themes around societal apathy, cruelty, and the systemic abuse of people for personal or professional gain. Persona 4 centered its themes around finding your own identity and self-realization and love, even when confronting harsh truths about yourself. Both strategies enabled the games to connect with people, and while I say their themes centered on those aspects, that doesn't mean it was exclusive attention. Persona 5 discussed individuality as well with characters like Morgana, or in Royal with Kasumi, and Persona 4 explored societal expectations with characters such as Naoto or Kanji. Persona has shown they can blend the discussion of individuality and society in together with little problem. Kudos to the writers for achieving such a feat, and I think they can keep it going in Persona 6. However, I do think that the decision of whether to focus on societal issues or individual issues in the game is important. In our current day, when lots of societal issues are being exposed and questioned, Persona 5 seems prescient and fits the modern mood, especially among younger people. On the other hand, Persona 4's characters and their struggles to find and accept their identities meant those characters resonated really strongly with people. For Persona 6 though, at least personally, I prefer for the themes to focus on societal issues because it is timely for the current moment, and because if they do set it in a small town, they can show how these abusive practices and behaviors are not limited to the bigwigs in the city. Abuse of power comes in many forms, and it is equally important to fight against the abuse of a local landlord as it is to fight against the abuse of a major corporate executive. Moving on to lighter topics, we come to the gameplay question, and that question is, should Persona 6 change anything with the gameplay? Well, sure, but I don't think anything major needs changing. The gameplay formula of social simulation and dungeon crawling has been getting progressively better since Persona 3, and Persona 5 was a masterclass in fun gameplay. It all fits together so intricately, I can only offer minor suggestions. The first comes with the weapons. I think looking to Tokyo Mirage Sessions and its weapon progression system would be an excellent idea. At the moment, weapons are rather boring in Persona, but if your weapons could progress and grant you new abilities, there would actually be consideration and strategy behind what weapons you use. The second and final minor area I have an idea about is when it comes to shadow recruitment. Shadow recruitment is just bland in Persona 5, and not really that engaging in Persona 4 either. My idea to spruce it up then is to have character dialogue options based on your social stats with a different tactic corresponding to each stat. Protagonists with high knowledge could use the reason option, high charm characters could use bribe, and so on and so forth. Certain tactics would be more effective depending on the personality and type of the shadow. It further intertwines the social simulation and the dungeon crawling parts of gameplay, and could be put in to replace the social stat restrictions on confidants, because let's face it, we're all annoyed when we learn we don't have enough proficiency to plant a tomato or some such silliness. This way, the limitation is geared more towards gameplay, keeping the motivation to rank up your stats without slowing down the social simulation gameplay side of things. On the topic of things that don't need much change, if any, we come to the presentation of the game. I have complete faith the team can create another distinctive visual style, since they've succeeded at doing so every time so far. My only prediction will be the main color for the game. They've done blue, yellow, and red so far, which means they're out of primary colors. Green was used for Tokyo Mirage Sessions, so my vote is purple, because the alternative is orange, and I'm just not sure about that one. As for music, are they getting Shoji Meguro back? If so, we're all set. I'm curious what musical style or blend of styles Meguro will bring us for Persona 6, but whatever it is, it's gonna be good. At least that's my prediction, and I'm not sure if I've ever been more confident about one of my predictions. Finally, we come to release time, and I have never gotten one of these predictions correct yet. We know based on developer comments that Persona 6 is in the works. That means very little now for several reasons. 1. Coronavirus slowing down development. 2. The lengthy time between Persona games, the gap between 3 and 4 was an aberration. 3. The new console generation, and 4. The consideration of the game being on multiple consoles. Before Persona 4 Golden came to PC, that last point wouldn't have been under consideration, but now it is. Sega has made it clear they want their games and Atlus's on PC. I would not be surprised if an announcement of Persona 6 coming to PS5 was also accompanied by news of a PC port coming later. Switch seems unlikely due to console power, and the Xbox is simply not a strong JRPG platform. So if Persona 6 is a multi-platform game, it'll be the PS5 and PC. If they're not prepared to go to PC though, it'll be a PS5 exclusive. My guess then is that we're looking at a 2022 release in Japan and 2023 in the West at the earliest, depending on how ambitious Atlus is with this new entry. That's it for me when it comes to predictions and hopes for Persona 6. Whatever it turns out to be, I'm excited to dive back into the world of Persona and its fantastic gameplay. Hit that like button if you want to make Persona 6 happen sooner. Hey, you can't say for sure it doesn't help. Comment your thoughts and hopes for the next Persona entry, and subscribe for more Persona and video game content. Plus, if you're feeling really generous, you can share this video around. Maybe Atlus will see it and implement the ideas. In any case, I'll see you all next time. Have a great day, and happy gaming.